Hello, and I'd like to welcome you to today's webinar. My name is David George, and I'm Director of Marketing Communications for System Sensor. With me today is Marcelo Kusakovic, and also from System Sensor. Marcelo is our guest speaker, and you'll hear from him in just a few moments. Today we're going to discuss an introduction to outdoor and specialty AV applications. At this time, I'd like to introduce our presenter. Marcelo Kusakovic is the Product Marketing Manager for System Sensor. Marcelo, take it away.
Thanks, David. Welcome, everybody. And like David said, I'm one of the product marketing managers for the audible visible products at System Sensor. For the next, For the next hour or so, we'll be talking about outdoor products and what I'm calling specialty applications, which has to do with the location of where these devices are placed, or locations where these outdoor devices are better suited for the application. We will also review the System Sensor product offering in some level of detail, as well as a brief touch on code requirements for installation and wiring. After that, we will be talking about probably the most important aspect of the webinar, which is proper installation, best practices, and a little bit on the common mistakes that we have encountered from customers over the years. Last, I want to make sure that everybody gets a glance at some of the online resources that we have, and like David said, we will have time for some Q&A. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of questions we can't get to, so we'll do our best to answer them by email if we're not able to get to them live. So let's get started. The environment where the AV devices are placed is probably the primary driver for the selection of this product line that we call the outdoor products. We did a recent survey with a segment of our customers to ask them, where have you used these devices in the past? The numbers on the left show you the result of the survey. It doesn't add up to 100 because people may use this in more than one location. But you can see clearly building exteriors, 58%. Not surprising. That's the primary target of this product, but 46% at parking garages, and that's when you start getting questionable as to whether it's outdoors or not. Parking garage is exposed to the element, but it's covered, so you're not going to get rain, but you will get humidity, temperature fluctuations, and the other locations you see, such as swimming pools, saunas in high humidity areas, showers. Cold storage facilities are particularly important because you have issues with condensation, rooftops, and then you see on the right there was a whole host of other locations that we had not anticipated in the survey. So that accounts for about 42% of the answers. So the point I'm trying to make is that even though we've called these products outdoor for a very long time, there are many opportunities to use these products, and they're actually the better option for some locations that you may not think about, or maybe technically indoors, but has certain challenges that these products can best meet. Let's talk about locations in a little more detail. Like I said, the most obvious one is your outdoor location. You can see here's an example of a school playground. Open surface parking lots, for example, you may be asked to put some notification devices. And in general, building exteriors. That's kind of like the slide says, is the obvious one. The products are exposed to the element, and the outdoor products are designed, and we'll talk about the design features that make them suitable, but they are designed to withstand things like rain, snow, freezing temperatures, direct sunlight, better than the indoor counterpart product. The not so obvious locations is things like this. You have an indoor swimming pool. It's an indoor location. You could probably use an indoor device, but over time, humidity and the environment, which is typically high on indoor pools, can affect the device, and it may fail faster than an outdoor device would. Similar to parking garages, again, having to do with temperature and especially places where temperature dips below freezing. The outdoor products are rated to a lower temperature than the indoor product, and it will work better. Your illumination, your strobe light will withstand the temperature better. As I mentioned before, freezers and other cold indoor locations have two challenges. One is the temperature below the rating of the indoor notification appliance, which is usually around 32 degrees. And the other issue is that due to the high temperature differential between, say, a walk-in freezer and the area where the conductor is coming from outside of the walk-in freezer, it creates kind of an ideal situation for some condensation. Another example is shipping warehouses, and more specifically those non-air conditioned warehouses that tend to have really, high humidity, high temperature, depending on the geography where you live. In both cases, a completely sealed device is the best option to avoid humidity getting into the product as well as condensation. Another location that customers have told us about where they've had some challenges is in places such as a food processing plant. Not only food processing, but the key here is places where at the end of a shift or every so often they do a wash down of the walls. I should point out the devices are not really made for a direct high pressure hose down or harsh chemicals that sometimes get sprayed. But for the low pressure hose down type situation and where the cleaning of the building gets done that way, a sealed outdoor device will work better than your traditional indoor device. Okay? So in summary, locations where you're exposed to the elements or extreme cold or hot temperatures and locations where the devices may get wet are all suitable locations for the outdoor product line. With that, I think we're coming to our first poll question of the webinar.
All right, Marcelo, thank you. Yes, we are coming to our first poll question. So if you could look at your screen and check the box or boxes that are applicable to this question. So other than building exteriors, we're curious where you have installed or specified outdoor rated AV products for the commercial fire industry. So go ahead and click those that are applicable to business that you've done. And if you could, if you click other, tell us what other means to you. So maybe we don't have one of your top uses listed there in the first four, parking garage or swimming pools or cold storage or some type of food processing facilities where there's washdown. What are those other areas? So go ahead and use chat. Hey, Marcelo, we do have a couple questions posted. Let's get to one of them here during the poll break. The first question is, can I mount the outdoor devices using an indoor back box?
The answer is physically you can, meaning the screw holes and all that are all aligned, but you will not, there's a couple of details there. The devices that we have with the correct outdoor back box are rated NEMA 4X. If you use an indoor device, it will not have the gasket in, is not built from the same material, so it will not have the same rating. The other thing I mentioned is the material, which is withstands UV and it's more resistant to the direct sunlight for fading. So also that's another aspect that's important. Then your back box will fade faster than the device. I think those are the main issues. There's one more actually, which is the indoor box has several open holes for screwing the box to a junction box or to a wall. All those holes would have to be sealed so that you don't get water into the device. So the outdoor box comes with those holes closed with knockouts. So therefore, you would only have to open up the holes that you need, and then we recommend caulking those as well. So the answer would be no. While physically may fit, it is not recommendable that you do that. If you're following our instructions, manufacturing specifications, you should not use the indoor box with the outdoor product.
Okay, very good. Marcelo, let me also tell you some of the other items that people have posted via chat outside of our list. First of all, it looks like parking garages is an overwhelming favorite, followed by the pools and cold storage. but other people have written in, walk-in coolers, power plants, washing bays, locker rooms or showers at health clubs, power generation facilities, stadiums and plazas, ice rinks, saunas, boiler rooms, showers. So we've got a host of answers here. So thank you so much for answering that. And Marcelo, let's get back to the presentation.
Excellent. And as you were mentioning some of the locations that other people have come up, hopefully that'll give the rest of the audience an idea of, hey, this is something that I do, or I have a job like this, and I hadn't thought about an outdoor device as being a better fit for the application. Now that we understand what we mean by locations where outdoor and specialty applications is applicable, let's review a little bit about System Sensor's product offering that's specifically designed for this type of environment. First, let me talk about the model number selection. I know that this is a very important topic because it makes everybody's life easier when we have model numbers that are easy to understand. I posted on the slide here some of the more popular AV model numbers, and what we had done is that when we built the outdoor offering, we added a K at the end of the model number. This was done a long time ago, and it makes it easier. So take, for example, one of our more popular products, the Hornstrobe P2R. If you add a K at the end, you would be ordering the outdoor version of the Hornstrobe, and it would actually come with the correct plastic back box and the plugs and everything you need to mount a outdoor Hornstrobe. Same is true for all the other ones that you see on the table. You should be aware that not all the indoor products have an outdoor equivalent. So check with your salesperson or online at systemsensor.com to make sure that the model that you have in mind does exist. There may be some cases, some very, very specific type products that we may not offer in outdoor. And if you're not finding the model that you need, also contact our customer service. We'll be happy to do a little bit of the legwork and see if we can find an alternative suitable model for the application that you are trying to meet. As I said, as you saw before, we have outdoor for basically all the major types of indoor products. So in the case of strobes, you see there we have both red and white, and we have both the wall and ceiling form factor. Horn strobes, the same thing. In the case of plain horns, we only offer the rectangular shape wall-mounted type device. But just like most of the Spectraler Advanced products, the wall device is also listed for ceiling installation. So if you really needed it, and if the customer, the building owner is okay with it, you could have a rectangular horn mounted on the ceiling, and it's perfectly okay. We have speakers in both form factors and speaker strobes. A little bit more on the product offering. In some cases, in some locations, people are asked to use metal back boxes. So we do have a metal back box that can replace the plastic back box. And we also have a weatherproof plate, which provides a different look and a slightly different installation. It also serves as a replacement for the plastic back box that we normally ship with the product. One thing to keep in mind when you do use those two that are metal made, the metal back box as well as the weatherproof plate, is that that for the front, for the device itself, you can add a -R to the model number, and then you will get only the front piece, only the actual AV device, so that you don't have to pay for and waste the plastic back box that normally would ship with it. Okay, the R stands for replacement, and which means if over time a device would fail, you can take out the front and replace it with with just the AV device without having to rewire and reinstall the back box. So we recommend the -R device in order to use one of these other boxes, the metal back box or the waterproof plate. For some applications, you're required to use different colors. So there's color lenses, as well as you can order the plain models that don't have any writing, any writing on them, any labeling. And the decals serve to put other messages such as alert, or you can see them on the screen. A couple more accessories. We have a 120 volt adapter plate, so if the device is going to be powered via 110, 120 volts instead of the NAC line that does 24 volts, you can use this plate, okay? And that'll have the transformer needed for the device to work properly. And we also have a few SKUs for ECS. The one you see on the screen, for example, says alert instead of fire. So what makes these devices suitable for outdoors? We're going to talk about all the things you see on the screen, which is what some of the main characteristics of this product. The first thing is to note is that they do look similar to the indoor product. I would say they look the same, which is desirable because you don't want a building with different looking devices all over the place. But they are made from UV resistant materials. We've done a lot of independent lab testing to ensure that this is a more durable material and withstand direct sunlight better than an indoor device would. In addition to that, you can also see on the slide that there are either NEMA 4X or 3R ratings, depending on the configuration. I'll talk about that later, and that the operating temperature is much wider than the indoor product. Let me make sure I don't forget something here. Word of caution: these products, the outdoor products that we have, in all the testing we've done, shows that it is a better product for outdoor direct sunlight exposure, but I should say that all products will fade in time, right? Just like siding in a house or paint jobs, they may be more resistant, but this is the product that will last the longest. Another detail that is not visible to the customer, which makes this device suitable for outdoor, is that the electronics in the device are completely sealed. What you see there on the little picture on the right is an orange gasket that seals the electronics. The piezo horn piece is still exposed. That has to be exposed so you can get enough sound out of the device, but that's okay. It's a plastic piece. And everything else is sealed, including contacts and the electronics, as I said. Similar to the horns and horn strobes, the speakers have two gaskets that you can see on the right. It's a little bit, unless you take one apart, it's hard to picture this, but the purpose of these two gaskets is to keep everything sealed behind where the water would be, or the humidity. The cone is exposed, which is okay, and if any water was to come in, there's a couple of whip holes in the front that are tied to where the speaker cone is, so that can get out. But all the seals that we have keep the electronics, the contacts, and all that from getting any kind of water or humidity to them. Another feature, in addition to the gaskets and the whip hole, is that the speaker has 4 screws in the front, which the indoor version doesn't. And this is in order for you to achieve a nice, even seal with the gasket that's on the back box. Another part that's critical to the success when it comes to specialty applications and outdoors is the installation, and for that we provide a plastic back box with the product, or as I said before, you can order a metal replacement box. In general, I would recommend the plastic over the metal unless it's required due to metal not doing as well with humidity. But the one shown on the picture here is a metal back box. It looks very similar to the plastic one, and you can see there's a couple of knockouts in the back for conduit entry. There's also a few knockouts that are smaller oval shape for the screws, and then there's entry points. If you're not coming through the back of the box, you can come through the top or the bottom. Okay. One more feature is that the back boxes have the side flanges, which is probably the best way to install the box. And if you can't, on the plastic box, you can remove those side flanges and use the screws that are inside that could mount to a junction box or directly on a wall. With this back box, the product itself, the AV device plus the back box, is NEMA 4X rated, which means it can withstand direct water. Okay, that means a hose, a low pressure type water. I don't want to give the impression that you can use a firefighter's hose on this thing. That's not the purpose of it. But indirect water or low pressure water is okay if you're using the back box. A different alternative, another alternative for mounting the product, and again, you would have to order the -R so you don't get the plastic back box that you're not going to use, is this mounting plate. You'll see a better picture in a minute that shows how it goes up against the wall, and it's flush mounted. So if your location requires a cleaner look and you don't want to have this big bulky boxes sticking out of the wall, this is the solution. Now, for this, you can only use conductors that are coming through a junction box in the back, not outside of the wall type of cabling. So keep in mind they order separate from the device. You have to get the -R model. And one more thing, when you use this plate, the rating is actually 3R, which is not quite as strong as the 4X rating of the back box. So no direct hosing of the devices is intended, but some indirect splashing maybe, it would be okay. I should also point out we have them obviously in red, but also in white. And the back box for the horn product is different than the one for the speaker product. So you see there on the blue square I have WTP, that would be the red one that you see on the screen. WTP-W is the white one, and then the ones with the SP are for speakers. So when to choose one versus the other? I have a couple of slides on this because it's key to make the decision correctly so that you get the right outcome. If you need a NEMA 4X, if you're going to be in that type of situation, direct hosing and all that, the back box is the correct solution. If 3R is good, well, the back box or the plate would be okay. If there's exposed wire conduit, by that I mean the conduit that goes along the wall outside and not through a wall, then the back box is the suitable option. If you have in-wall junction box, either one will hook up to the junction box, or you can screw them directly onto the wall. If the device is ceiling mounted, the back box is it's a better option, though technically you could mount the plate as well. But if you need a look that is flush against the wall, then the plate is the better option. And a little bit more on NEMA 3X versus 4R. They both do the same function regarding hazardous parts. This is something I don't have the definition in front of me of what a hazardous part is, so I apologize for that. The ingress of water is about the same when it comes to rain, snow, sleet type situations. However, when it comes to hose down and a little bit of pressure, direct pressure on the product, the back box with the 4X is the right choice. Mild corrosive agents, some bleach in there is okay, but if it's going to be any harsh corrosive agents, then neither one of them is the right option. Now you're talking about a more industrial setting, and we don't have the right product for that. Dirt is good for, both solutions are good for things like falling dirt. However, once you get to the wind-blown dust and things like that, we're back to the same idea that the NEMA 4X rating is what you're looking for. Therefore, the back box should be the preferred choice. So one thing that's very important to consider is code requirements, and I had to do some research here, and I even enlisted some other folks to comb through the building codes and things like that, and try to find out what does the code say about this. And keep in mind, we're looking at it from a nationwide type perspective. and we're looking at the latest code. We did not find any specific requirements for outdoor notification in the building code. However, as with all code-related questions, you should always consider the local codes that may be required that supersede some of these requirements. We did find in IBC that section 907.2 refers to NFPA 72, and 907.6 refers to NFPA 70. So here's a little bit of detail on those. NFPA 72 talks about products have to be listed for applications typically defined as such as high or low temperatures, high humidity, dusty conditions, hazardous locations. It says where they're subject to tampering, and they shall be listed for the intended application. I would like to make very clear that we're talking about all those locations except what is typically known as hazardous location. By that I mean things like explosion-proof or intrinsically safe areas that we see more and more on industrial-type applications. That is not what this is intended. These devices are still intended for your commercial buildings, and the temperatures, humidity, we're talking about mostly environmental conditions that are fairly common, okay? But again, no explosion-proof or intrinsically safe product is what we're referring to. In the case of NFPA 70, you do find a lot of information about wet locations, including underground raceways. And I won't spend too much time on this. As you can see, there's a lot of writing, but these are the sections that, from a wiring perspective, you would probably be well served to know them well and to make sure that you're complying. Not all of this is outdoors. Like I said, some of it has to do with underground locations. The presentation will be made available to everybody via, I believe, we'll probably send a link to where this is posted. But these are the main sections where we found that were applicable to the topic from today. And I think with that, we're up against the second poll question.
Very good, Marcelo. Thank you very much. I'll go ahead and post that poll question. And if you could take a look at this question, and Marcelo commented on it earlier, while there might not be a national code requiring this, we're wondering about local codes requiring the use of outdoor AV devices in your area. Is your AHJ or specifying influences requiring outdoor devices? Just simply click yes or no. And Marcelo, we did have one attendee comment that one code required location may be a rooftop pool area of a hotel, and he said this is classified as public outdoor requiring egress. So just a comment from one of our attendees.
That is absolutely correct. That is absolutely correct. Those locations, what we found is the reason these devices get deployed in those locations is because they have and they meet the occupancy requirement that makes you have to have a notification appliance. So that's absolutely correct.
Very good. So let's ask at least one or two questions here from attendees. And by the way, we have Rebecca Peterson offline with us today, and she's answering the questions online, many of your questions online with us. So if you get a response from Rebecca, know that she's working behind the scenes here for us. So Marcelo, the next question, can you give us an example of where a 120-volt plate would be used?
Yeah. The location or the application that comes to mind is the fire sprinkler type situation where you're monitoring a fire sprinkler and the device is going to be powered via 120 volt power. There may be other locations, but that's the one that comes to mind.
Okay. And a related question to that, since we're on the 120 volt plate, does that 120 volt plate require a different AV device?
No. The 120 volt plate is designed to drive a regular horn strobe type product. No need for a special device.
Right. Let's go ahead and close the poll. So it looks like about 57, almost 58% of local jurisdictions require the use of AV, outdoor AV in their area. So Very interesting. Thank you for voting. Yeah, thank you for voting in the poll. And Marcelo, back to you.
Okay. Proper installation, best practices, common mistakes. This is, most important. If you can remember one thing from this webinar, I hope is that the proper installation and following the right steps is key to success, so that you're not there, 6 months later with, hey, I have a short here, this thing is foggy, or any other issues that may come up. So this is probably, to me at least, the most important thing. Or just about every issue that we've seen having to do with outdoor or specialty applications, it can be traced to an installation problem. And recently we sent an email about this as well, so I'll cover some of that. It may look somewhat familiar, and I'll touch on a few more details in this webinar. The first one here is, if you can see the picture, you can, it may be a little small, but the picture with the little yellow circle shows a conduit, a cable that's coming through the wall, and there's no connector. Right? It's just the shielded cable coming through the wall and connecting to the device. You can imagine then water can easily get in through the side of the device and then into the AV device from the back. And in addition to that, that also can allow for water to seep into the wall and cause additional damage to the building. So to avoid getting water into the device, the correct installation procedure is to use a watertight connector, and there's a whole bunch of them. I'll talk about them in a minute, but there's a lot of different types of watertight connectors that you can use that will keep the device safe and dry. So very important to use those connectors and not just have cabling coming in and out of the device with no seal. One more thing I would mention is that we do recommend caulking around the back box in a nice single, and you're going to hear me say this several times, a nice single bead that you can see it's well sealed, and as opposed to putting a whole bunch of caulking that actually tends to have little gaps here and there. A nice even bead is the way to do it, and that'll keep both the device as well as the wall from getting water or humidity through that hole. A second similar problem is, in this case, the conductor may be using a fitting, a watertight connector in the back. That looks like that's how the wiring is coming into this device. But somebody left the bottom plug open. We ship the back boxes and the devices with 3 plugs. That means one for each hole if you're not using them. We recommend using Teflon tape to ensure that you have a nice seal in the holes that you're not using. These are threaded openings, so the plugs just screw right in. You don't have to tighten them too much. But this is very important. I think some people have the perception that we need a weep hole in case water gets in. The name of the game here to win this, to make it effective, is no water coming in ever, as opposed to opening a hole. Because even though you may be able to drain water, constant humidity is going to be inside that device, and water and all that can in time, that humidity can start rusting the contacts, which will eventually short. We've also heard of bugs and insects coming into the devices. That hole it's about, I think, a 3/4 inch hole. So very important to keep that plugged. Here's another one that another issue that we've seen, and you can actually see the contacts are rusted already, and you see there's a lot of caulking around the entry points as well as tape. For some reason, the installer here had to open up both of the back holes instead of trying to use just one to minimize entry points. But even with all that caulking, we still get enough water or humidity that the contacts are rusted. So caulking is not the right solution for the back of the box. Caulking is only to go around the back box, and then for the back of the box, we want to use the right watertight connectors that as intended. Here's one more similar to the one we saw 2 slides ago, which has to do with a weep hole. It's hard to see, but somebody actually drilled a little hole at the bottom. Again, for one, your NEMA rating is no longer applicable because now it's no longer a sealed device, and you have an ingress point where pressured water can come in, and again, also humidity is going to be present in that case. So the only time that we do have weeping holes is for the front grill where the speaker cone may get some water and we want that to drain out. But the hole in the back or at the bottom of the box will actually allow moisture to come in and corrode the contact. So never make a weep hole in these devices. Here's one more case that we recommend installing the back boxes using the side flanges, but we also know that sometimes that's not possible, which is why in the case of the plastic box you can actually take out the side flanges and not use them. So an alternative way of mounting the device would be to open up some of the knockouts that we have in the back and screw whether it's right into a wall or using a junction box. However, if you do that, you have an open hole, so what we recommend is to put some kind of a silicone or caulking there. My recommendation is to put, put the screw about halfway in, put the silicone, and then finish it so that you have a nice and completely sealed installation. And again, you can also caulk around the device, but this is very important that we have every little hole caulked so that you have no way for water to get in. I mentioned before that we have some some recommendations for watertight connectors. You can see some on the screen. I have a feeling that a lot of people in the audience are more knowledgeable about this than I am. One detail, the holes in the back of the box, the sort of knockouts, they require the type of connector that has gaskets, hopefully on both sides, so that the gasket is what makes the seal. Okay, those are not threaded holes, so you would need the ones that have a little cover in the front and the back, and there's a gasket in between, and that makes for a waterproof connector. If you're using the top or the bottom entry point, then there is a 3/4 inch hole with the standard thread that where you can use some of the other watertight connectors that are suitable for that, right? So very important, and again, I can't stress this enough. If you use, make sure that all the remaining holes are plugged when you're not using them, and use the Teflon tape to make it even better. The minimum recommended by the manufacturer, which is us, the recommendation is that you use the plugs, but the Teflon tape will certainly help as well. Earlier I mentioned the weatherproof plate, and you can see in that picture that it is a bit of a cleaner look. It's flushed against the wall instead of having the back box mounted. So that's kind of what it looks like. And as you can imagine, there is a gasket in the back between the plate. There's two gaskets. One is between the plate and the device, and one is between the plate and the wall. To make this a little more robust of an installation, I would recommend caulking around the plate as well. And again, a single bead, nice and even, so that there are no locations, no holes where water can come in. We recommend, as the last bullet says, screw all four screws, the 4 points, and the gasket, the back gasket, the one that goes up against the wall, should be compressed to about 50%. So, in summary, the most important thing you can remember from this is that we want a sealed device. We don't want a device with weep holes or things of that nature. What we want is a completely sealed device. Use threaded connectors for the top or bottom, or the ones with the gaskets for the knockouts in the back. Plug the holes that are not being used. We recommend the Teflon tape. Never make weep holes. And if you're caulking, which I do recommend, do it in the fashion of a single bead around it, not in just putting a whole bunch of caulking around the boxes. It looks awful, and at the same time, it's not nearly as effective as a single bead of caulk. Okay, and last but not least, choose the right wall mounting. Right, if I give a lot of detail as to when to choose one versus the other. If it's a NEMA 4X type environment where you can anticipate water hosing, the black box is it's better. If you want to be flush against the wall and the environment is not quite as harsh, then the weatherproof plate would be a good option. With that, I think we're getting to the third poll question.
Yep, Marcelo, we actually have the online resources piece first.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
So before we get to the poll question, thanks, David. I did not want to forget that we have put together a single resource page on the System Sensor website. You can see the address on the screen, where we put together a whole bunch of resources for you having to do with outdoor and specialty applications. So there's an applications guide. There's the videos. For those of you who haven't seen it, the people who have seen the videos have given us extremely good feedback that is very helpful. It's good to see somebody actually doing this thing as opposed to, a written static instruction. So I highly recommend watching the videos. If you have people that do installations for you, make sure your crew watches the videos. And then there's, the specifications. All this information is in our, as far as the product is concerned, is in our brochures. There are data sheets, and also if you need a little more detail on NEMA, there's a couple of flyers there. One is the Fab Bad installs that I covered here. The other one is the NEMA 4X flyer that explains the ratings a little bit in a little more detail than I did. And last there's a white paper that that has a lot of really, really good information above and beyond what I'm able to cover in this hour. And now we have the poll question.
You got it. Thank you, Marcelo. And we're going to answer a bunch of questions here as well. But this last poll question is the how we can help you question. So if there's something that maybe Marcelo just covered that you'd like more information on, we've listed 3 or 4 of our kind of the high use items amongst our customers. Maybe that AV appliance applications guide, thick document, technical document on the application of AV devices in a bunch of different environments. Maybe it's the AV products brochure, see our complete range of products from System Sensor. Maybe it's the outdoor AV data sheets. We have 4 different data sheets. We've actually put them in a 12-sheet package here. So if you request that, you get that. And then the white paper on outdoor AV applications. So those are the first 4 that we can send you for sure. Certainly visit the website for anything else. And we're always interested in connecting you with one of our salespeople. So if that's of interest, go ahead and click that box. We're going to leave this screen up for a couple minutes. So we hope, we have almost 500 people online with us now. We hope many of you will use this as an opportunity to request some more information. And we're going to go into our Q&A session at this point as well. So Rebecca's answering questions online. Marcelo is going to answer them verbally here. So Marcelo, let's get to these. Let's see. The first question posted is, are high fidelity speakers available in the configurations with taps up to 15 watts?
The short answer is no. What we have is we do our high volume speaker, the louder one, which has a closed back box. It's a closed back speaker. That's the one we use for the outdoor product, not the high fidelity one. And the other thing I would mention is that our tap settings are the quarter watt, half watt, 1 watt, and 2 watts. We do not have a 15 watt speaker.
Okay. All right. Very good. Next question posted here. On the P2RK, is the candela setting variable?
Yes. It's actually the same as what you're familiar with the P2R. So it would be the 15 through 135 candela, 115 candela. I can't remember exactly. I have that in front of me actually. But it's basically the Yeah, 15 through 115. So 15, 1575, 30, 75, 95, 110, and 115 candela for that. And we also have the products in the high candela mode, which would be the 135 through 185 candela. But the selection of the candela and actually all the settings for that matter is the same as the indoor product, where you have either the sliding selector or code wheels or something to that effect.
Gotcha. So this is the last call on this, how we can help you slide. Almost 300 people have asked for something, so I want to give you that chance. We'll ask one more question here, and then we'll move on to the next slide. But so Marcelo, what is the typical candela D rating, the D rating, if they're using colored lenses?
Okay, so these devices are listed to what is it called, 1638. There's no D rating of the device because the way that this is measured is directly in front, as opposed to all the angles that 1971 requires. So there's no D rating of the candela.
Okay, very good. All right, we're going to move on to a couple of the other slides here. So there's Marcelo's contact information if you'd like to get a hold of him directly. Marcelo, next question. Can amber and clear strobes go from clear to amber and back to, I guess they're saying from clear to amber and back to amber to show different types of alarms like chemical spill? So what's that variation that's possible, I guess, with the strobes?
Mm-hmm. Hopefully I'll answer the question as intended. The way that the product works is that you have a clear lens and you can order an amber one, but the accessories that we have are lenses that you put in and they're adhesive and they're not easy to replace, so you couldn't do a manual replacement of the thing. We do have and we do offer the expander plates that, and this could be also what the person means, the expander plate that allows you to have one clear strobe for fire and then one amber strobe for a different type of event. Okay, those are static, meaning they are what they are as far as the product is concerned, but the way you activate them is through different wiring. So fire alarms would come from the fire panel and would activate the clear strobe. The amber strobe would get activated in a different way. Beyond that, if the person was referring to things like those lights where you can actually have the same light but having, say, LEDs or some other light source that changes colors, that is not offered with this product.
All right. Next question here in queue.
Hopefully that was an answer to the question.
Yeah, I believe it is. They're wanting you to review the ADA Candela D rating at 32 and minus 40 as shown on our data sheets. So what do we have to say about that?
For that, I would recommend that they look at the data sheet. What happens is below a certain temperature, the electronics of the product are not able to produce the lower candela settings. So for something like above, I want to say above 75, there's no D rating. But if you're working at a temperature below freezing, then your 15, 30 candela, and actually the 75 as well, will get derated. So if you need, say, 75 candela, you would have to go in and use a 95 candela setting.
Okay. All right. Very good. So next question here. Let's see. We use a lot of K-type devices in our installations. I know the back boxes protect the electronics and terminals, etc., at the back, but is the front face of these devices able to withstand harsh weather conditions?
Yes, that's the intention. Like I mentioned, and this may have come in before I talked about this in the presentation, the materials that we use are specifically designed or are enhanced for this outdoors type of setting. So we did some independent lab testing to try to understand to try to estimate how much more lifetime you would get out of the device in terms of fading. And the way the test was conducted is that, or the result came out, is that if you were to use a Florida sun type of environment as a proxy, you would get about 2.5 more years with no significant fading of the product. I believe I mentioned before also that eventually all products that are exposed to direct sunlight will fade, just like house siding and paint and all that. But it's about 2.5 years longer when you use this product as opposed to a regular indoor product. That's for the fading. And then the other piece is if you're exposed to direct sunlight, chances are you're also exposed to humidity and rain and those things. So these will still be the best choice.
Okay, very good. Let's go to the next question here. Does the plate come with the product if you order it with an R?
Okay, the R only gets you the front piece, the horn strobe or the speaker strobe. So it would be a speaker strobe with a mounting plate, I believe, but actually no mounting plate. It's just a speaker strobe or the horn strobe that is intended to be mounted on an existing box. And the plate you would have to order that separately. Right, and the part numbers are there. They're WTP, WTPW, but yeah, they would have to be ordered separately. Same is true for the metal back box that has to be ordered separate, and then you get the -R product for the front piece for the actual appliance.
Okay, and I should point out all of these parts are available at least for specification on SystemSensor.com, and then you can purchase them through your normal source. So. Okay, let's go to the next one here while the time remains. Looks like we've got 5 or 6 minutes. When you're using the labels that say alert, do you order the horn strobe that has no label, or does the label come on the device based on asking for that label? So does it come with it or not with it?
Okay, this is not a straightforward answer. There's two pieces to this. One is, if you go to our catalog or our website, you will see that a lot of devices have a -P. Okay, so to give you an example, there's a P2RK-P, and that would be the outdoor version of the P2R, and the -P stands for plain, meaning it is not marked. Okay, so you get a device that doesn't have any markings on it. You have to order separate a set of decals, and there's part numbers to that as well. And then you choose the decal that you want, and you should be careful also to note if you're getting a red device, make sure you get the white lettering decal. And if you get a white device, use the red lettering on it. You don't want to get the white device and a white decal. That won't look good. But I should also point out we do have several models where we have alert printed on them. Okay, we have a speaker strobe with a clear lens that says alert, and I believe we have a amber one as well. So look through our catalog, and you'll see that for alert, which is a fairly common label, we offer it. In some cases, we do offer it already pre-printed. There are also a few additional ones, such as in Spanish, that that's available pre-printed. But so those are the two ways to do it. We may have what you're looking for already, and if we do not, then you have to order with the -P plus the decal kit.
Okay, very good. Let's just keep going here. We do have about 30 questions still in queue, so I don't think we're going to get to everyone's, but we'll get to as many as we can. He starts with a statement. There's some conditions when you're not able to install the device from the back. Is there manufacturer's instructions or a policy allowing the penetration of the sides or top or bottom and still maintaining the outdoor rating?
Yeah. Again, this may have, some of these questions may have come in before we touched on all of it, but I mentioned this. We do have, in the case of the wall-mounted product, entry points from the bottom, and one from the bottom and 2 from the top that use the threaded openings. And in order to maintain the rating, you have to use a watertight connector, conduit connector. So you have those 3 entry points. In the case of the ceiling devices, very similar. There's one side that would have 2 and the other side has one entry point. I should point out in the case of the outdoor boxes, we do not have side entry. We only have top, bottom, and rear. And I say that because our indoor product has knockouts on the sides as well. And the other thing to point out is the outdoor product only has round knockouts or entry points, while the indoor one has kind of that squarish raceway type connector, but that would not be suitable for an outdoor or a specialty application type place. So yeah, top and bottom have the 3/4 inch entry points already done, and make sure you plug them as intended, when the ones that you're not using.
Very good. I know you mentioned direct sunlight previous. There's a couple of questions posted about how the device holds up on direct sunlight. Anything else to add to that?
Not really. Like I said, we have done all this testing, and again, we tested that against both our indoor product as well as most of the competitors in the market, and we found our device to be the one that withstands direct sunlight best. Okay, so we're very happy with the results of that, and the way to look at it, and I don't know, that's the the most intuitive way, is Florida type sun, which is strong, about 2.5 more years of without significant fading for these products compared to the indoor product.
Okay, looks like we might have time for one more question here. This might be a simple one. Are the outdoor devices listed to UL 1971?
I'm not a code expert. I would say the challenge is that whether it's 1971 or 1638 has to do with the environment where the devices are. So 1971 talks about a environment that is controlled, that is low humidity, that is basically your office type space. For that, yes, you can use these devices. I don't think you're gaining much by using them, and you might as well just use the indoor device as intended, but you could use these devices. I suppose if you have a spare one or an extra one, you can use it indoors, and then it would be listed to 1971. Otherwise, these are the devices for 1638, which is more on the outdoor and more difficult environments, and that's what they're intended for.
Okay.
Hopefully that's
right.
The sentiment of the question.
Yep, very good. Okay, so on behalf of System Sensor, we are at the top of the hour, and we do respect your time. Marcelo, thank you. Rebecca, thank you for answering questions offline. We want to thank you for joining us today, and as a follow-up, we'll send you a brief survey and would appreciate your help in filling that out. And just a reminder, the CEU certificate should be delivered to you before end of day. Please check your inbox and your junk folder for those. Thank you. That does conclude our webinar. Please have a nice rest of the day.
Thank you.